اتكلم يا دكتور. شغال؟ تمام.
Now, Red Sea is around 8 point something billion. Now, NEOM has a $37.8 billion awarded contracts. The least is New Murabba, Boutique Group, Jeddah Central, and so on. But the major ones up till now are the Red Sea, Qiddiya, King Salman, Park, and Diriyah Company. 7 probably. These are the largest awarded contracts and the contractors awarded to. Some, mostly these are water projects, power projects, and transport projects. So they are preparing for the large construction to come, inshallah, in the next decade. Okay? Now the remaining works can be deducted from here. 60,000 billion for Diriyah, New Murabba is 50,000, and so on and so on and so on. Now, between 2021 and 2025, there will be a total of $754 billion worth of contracts to be awarded up till 2025 during a 5-year period. And I think this is a large step forward for the Saudi construction. Now, this is the FIDIC contract. People think this is the only FIDIC contract that is there, although we have lots of other contracts, and I will be elaborating on that very soon. Now, using the FIDIC contract alone is not the solution to our problems and will not end other problems with design. Now, what I want to show you is that whatever inputs you put to the red book, which is FIDIC, you will have similar outputs like that. Okay? So, this will not help you if you have poor design, if the BOQ is not correct or not complete. Soil reports, if they are there or not, if they are correct or not, if they are enough or not. Project duration estimation. In Saudi Arabia, we face a lot of projects that were estimated at 40 months. Then somebody comes in and says, we'll cut that to 20 months only by 50%. If you do this, this contract will not help you. If I select the contractors the same way as per the lowest bidder, if we still do that, this contract will not help me at all. Engineer selection, the same with engineer selection. If I use the lowest bidder and whoever comes first, I will award him the contract. All these will not, this red book, whatever, will not help you if you don't have these properly done. So you will have similar outputs. So if these are incomplete, you'll have horrible results. If they are well done, complete, perfect, you will have similar outputs. So this contract, which is the FIDIC contract, will not help you unless everything else is perfect. Now, we have lots of books coming from FIDIC. It's not this only one. This is the oldest, probably, the most famous one, but this is not the only one. We have around 15 contracts made by FIDIC, produced by FIDIC up till today. Tomorrow would be something else. Now, we have a conditions of contract for construction. They used a red cover to that. That's why they called it the Red Book. And they made another one with a yellow cover, and they called it, for short, the Yellow Book. But these are different, by the way. Here, design is made by the employer, while here it is made by the contractor. So this is a design-build kind of contract. Here, remuneration to the contractor is based on quantities and prices per unit, but this one is based on lump sum arrangements. So these are not the same. These are different ones. This one is the condition of contract for EPC, which stands for Engineering, Procurement, and Construction, which is a turnkey project. I don't like to use this word at all in Arabic because it is not defined at all in Arabic. Everybody has his own understanding of what turnkey means. So for me, I don't use that at all. So this one is the short form. People said, why should I use a very long contract like that? That's around 75 pages in English. And when we translated that into Arabic, it came out to 100 or 102 pages. So people are not happy to have that big contract, a very long one. So FIDIC made a shorter one, which called it the short form of contract and the Green Book for short. Now, only for dredging and reclamation, if 80% or more of the project is reclamation or dredging, you can use this book, which is made specially for those this kind of work. It had a blue cover, and they called it the Blue Book. Now, these show you the dates of issuing those from FIDIC, by FIDIC. Now, we have seen lots of contracts. What do you think are the items we need to know before we select a contract? First thing, the parties. Who are the parties to this contract? If it is the employer and contractor, that's different than if it is between a main contractor and a subcontractor, or whether it is between the employer and the engineer, and so on and so on. The project size, complexity, and duration might be an item for selection of the right contract. What is the pricing strategy? Is it a lump sum contract? Is it a unit rate based? Is it a cost plus? So before selecting any of those contracts, you have to make up your mind about these items. What is the mode of the project delivery? Is it a design build? Is it an only construct? Is it a design build and operate? Is it who's financing the project? Is it the employer? Is it the contractor? And so on and so on. Shall we be using a FIDIC model or JCT or NEC or whatever? Is it a continuing contract? Is it a construction contract? Is it a service contract? And so on. What is the procurement method and the tendering details? What is the contractor's entity? What is that? You can have a one contractor. You can have multiple prime contractors, which is a new approach to contracting. You can have a joint venture, you can have a consortium, you can have a partnering. Now I can see there are some British gentlemen here. Have you heard about partnering? The usual way they use in the government of making the design and then tendering and then choosing the lowest bidder and so on and so on. We need to start tomorrow. So that's a very different approach. So it's called the fast track, okay? It's a very different. Of course, we do have some fast track projects here that are related to Al-Hajj, pilgrimage in Mecca. So pilgrimage is only 4 months away. So if we start tomorrow, we need a completely different approach than working in the regular way. Fadl.
Is there a fast work, like fast work arrangement? Is there like a fast?
Unit rate method. You use a cost plus approach of payment.
I mean, do you have like a list? So that contractor, if we have this circumstance, this fast
Okay.
work, we will give it to that guy.
It's not that easy, okay? But it will show you the approach. Now, when you attended with us in the Arabic session, I said that I'm working on an application that will guide anyone who uses it to the best choice of contracts, not only in FIDIC, but in JCT or NEC or even American contracts and so on. So it will be free for everyone, by the way. But we have a first edition now. We're working on that, inshallah. By summer, maybe it will be out.
Even the framework agreement will help on it.
Pardon?
The framework agreement will help for these fast track arrangements. The contractor will be on board and we have to just issue a PO and they will start the work next day.
Certainly, but make sure you don't use the regular way everybody uses now to make a construction project. Now, number 10, what are the project results required by the employer? We have two kinds of output. It's either like this hotel, I will pay to the contractor whatever he constructs. So if he pours 1,000 cubic meters of concrete, I will pay him that, okay? And painting and everything. There is another project result or oriented. If you're constructing a power plant or a desalination plant, the employer would require 1,000 cubic meters per hour. If you don't do that, you will not get 100% of the contract price. You'll get 95, 97, whatever, because this is what is the requirement of the employer. It's what is it called?
remeasurement contracts?
No, it's not remeasured at all. Remeasured is the first one, but the other one is the result-based.
SPE, supplier performance evaluation.
Probably it's a little bit different than this. You write from day one in the contract, I will not pay you for the paintings and the doors. I will pay you for what output it gives. So if you give me 1,000 kilowatts per hour, I will pay you 100%. If not, I'll pay you prorated, okay? And if you fall beneath 90%, I will refuse to get that project. You take it, contractor, give me back my money. Now, employer requirements, which could be up to 40 or 50 parts. Do you need to accept some risks, Mr. Employer? Will you employ an engineer or not? Alhamdulillah, ahlan bik. Will you employing an engineer or not? It's not easy to apply that red book and then say, I will cancel the engineer's part. This is an awful approach to construction. So, these are the main items to be taken in consideration when choosing which contract. So, it's not as easy as say, I will choose the red book because this is the one I know. This is not the case at all. Okay, we have lots of contracts, and some of them are probably, this is the dredging and so on. This is the new dredging contract. This is a very old one. This is a client service model contract. Okay, that's an agreement for services. That means a design engineer, supervision. If you're doing some soil tests, whatever. Okay, you can use this kind of contract. So this is different than the red book. This is the yellow book. This is the silver book, which is called the EPC. The green book, which is the short form, and so on and so on. You have some guides. You have some reports that are not contracts at all. But there are several of these publications from FIDIC. Now, this is the newest one, which is called the Emerald Book. And this is used when you have, when you're doing tunnels, especially underwater, within unknown territories. No contractor can calculate the risk or the price of making one linear meter inside the tunnel after 5 kilometers from here. So they use another arrangement of payment, which is cost plus. So they say whatever you know and can calculate, you do it on a unit rate arrangement. Whatever you don't know, you can use the cost plus. This is the dredging and reclamation, the new contract. So whatever we have as new are the new editions. Now, we have lots of publications. And that's why the application I'm working on will show you which one to use, either in FIDIC, and if there is no such one in FIDIC, they will choose, or in anyhow, they will choose multiple entities that produce construction contracts. I made a short I searched some of the entities in Britain who produce construction contracts. I found around 13 of them. Every one of them is producing as much as FIDIC or more. Okay? So FIDIC is not the only one entity or organization who are producing construction contracts. More contracts. This one is the DBO. This is the Golden Book, which is design, build, and operate. This is like a BOT arrangement or whatever. This is the first edition, was published in 2008, and so on and so on. Now I'll show you very quickly some of the publications from FIDIC. You'll find those in the, on their site. Lots of reports, lots of guides, and so on and so on and so on. You'll get a copy of this presentation, inshallah, if you leave your email address. So, this one is the one they say, this is the FIDIC contract. But now you have seen what I've showed here. This is one of 15 contracts FIDIC produces. Other entities like the American Institute of Architects, like the New Engineering Contract in Britain, JCT, ICE, and so on, every one of those produces as much contracts as FIDIC or maybe more. Now, there is a very important thing I need to tell you. FIDIC, the 15 contracts of FIDIC do not cover everything in construction. So, if you need to go to use a contract which is a cost plus, besides that for the tunnels, you will not find a suitable one to use for cost plus contracts. If you need to hire a construction manager, you cannot do that in FIDIC contracts because there is an engineer. So you're adding one more tire to the 4-tired vehicle. You cannot add that very simply like that. Now, this is the conditions of contract for works. This is the 4th edition, 1987. By the way, up till now, people are using this edition, although it's 33 or 35 years old. People are still using that, and the old edition. Conditions of contract for electrical and mechanical works. This is not only for electrical and mechanical works, for any project that employs the contractor for designing and building, and where the remuneration of the contractor is by lump sum arrangements. Some of the information for those contracts, especially the red book, which is payment monthly for work done. The yellow book is the lump sum on milestones. Every project is unique. That's why we need to know every single information about the construction, about the project, about who does what in this contract. These contracts I've shown you are guidelines for best practice. Okay? They were written by, mainly by engineers and using the service of lawyers. It's made up of 2 parts. One part is the general conditions. General conditions are those books. These are the general conditions for the Red Book, general conditions for the Yellow Book. So on another edition, you'll need to make some amendments or additions or so you made them in part 2, which are the particular conditions, okay? The name of the owner, employer, name of contractor, how much, how long, and so and so. You can change some of the general conditions, but make sure you don't make fatal mistakes by doing this. Well, one of the advantages of FIDIC contracts is the fair risk allocation. One other thing is that you as a contractor, you are not obliged to give any pricing if the circumstances are not known to him. The same as the tunnel projects, because most of the information is not there, so they will not order the contractor to give prices for things that are not known to him. Payment terms are very important in FIDIC contracts. Contractors should know every detail about the payment terms. When they are going to get their payment, if there is a compensation or a whatever for delayed payments, what are his rights, the contractor, if the payments are delayed? Can he slow down the work? Can he suspend the work? Can he end the contract, terminate the contract? Okay? He will be compensated for delays. In what terms? Is it time, extension of time, or is it money? Of course, in FIDIC, it's only money. It's only payments of compensation for delays. There is no extension of time. This is what the government contracts here do. It's usually that they will, for late payments by the government, they will only compensate him with extensions of time. بس اللي عنده تليفون بس يا ريت يحطه على الصامت لو سمحتوا. Resolving disputes is a very essential thing in FIDIC contracts. We have two levels of resolving the disputes. In fact, there are three. Okay, the first one, we have opinion of the engineer. Then, if you're not happy with that, you go to the dispute adjudication board, which is made up of either 1 or 3 consultants who, within 84 days, should give their decision on any dispute. The responsibilities of the parties in general of the contract are clear, precise, and balanced. These contracts are used globally. They are very well known internationally and for private contracts as well. The World Bank is using his own version of that, which is called the Pink Book. So everywhere, wherever the World Bank or the other banks who use that Pink Book, wherever you do that construction, there will be some information about FIDIC, whether it is in Central Africa, whether it is in Central America, whether it is in South Asia, and so on and so on. Now, they have started issuing the first contract in 1957. First, I'll give you, I'm not sure if it shows here or not, what FIDIC means now. In 1913, that's at the beginning of the 20th century, 3 consultant organizations from Europe made up their mind to make a large organization of international consultants. There were only three at that time, 1913. They were Switzerland, France, and Belgium. So the common language between that was French, so that's why they started with the French language. They called it the International Federation of Consulting Engineers. In French, that translates to Fédération Internationale des Ingénieurs Conseil. So that's where they got the name FIDIC from now. After 44 years of starting that organization, they started to make their own contracts. The first version was issued in 1957, and they have been updating them regularly up till the 1987. Okay, that was the fourth edition. Then they started a new era with contracts starting at 1999. They made an overhaul for the whole contracts. They started a new era for contracts starting from 1999, and they updated that in 2017. Now, you don't have to use any of the new contracts if you don't like them. If you don't, they didn't say stop using the old versions and we're using the new ones. Okay. By the way, Jordan have adopted the FIDIC contracts as it is for public and private sectors, which is a large experience that we need to understand and maybe adopt some of this. Now, the contracts in Egypt now are they're very popular in Egypt, in Lebanon, elsewhere in the Gulf as well. Now, some of this logic behind FIDIC contracts is that risk is allocated to the party that is best able to bear and control that risk. Whether this is the employer or the contractor, we allocate the risk to the strongest party. Compensation and time extension is allowed when uncalculated hindrances occur, whether it is by the employer, third party, acts of God, whatever. There is an engineer whose job is to supervise and monitor the work in accordance with the contract, and he has the power to give a decision, okay, on disputes. By the way, this is one is almost obsolete. Nobody uses the Orange Book anymore. Now, there is an independent dispute adjudication board. What is that? I mentioned before that we have 3 layers of dispute resolution we can use in any of those FIDIC contracts. The first one is the decision by the engineer. If you're not happy with that, you can go to another level, which is the DAB, Dispute Adjudication Board, which is made up of either 1 professional or 3 professionals who are knowledgeable about the construction and about this kind of projects, and they give their decision in a maximum of 84 days for any dispute they receive from the contract parties. Now, what is the 1999 suite of standard conditions of contract? As I showed you before, the Red Book, the new Red Book, which was issued in 1999 and then updated in 2017. The same thing happened to the Yellow Book, which is a plant design build contract. The EPC, where the engineering, procurement, and construction is a turnkey project, and it's called the Silver Book. By the way, there is no engineer in this kind of projects, okay? So, it is designed to only operate under two people, employer and contractor. So, don't try to enforce an engineer on this contract. The same happens with the other contracts. If you have a Red Book and there is an engineer there with a lot of authority, then you take out that engineer from the Red Book. This is a catastrophe. It will end up in a failure of the contract. Now, the short form, which is the Green Book, FIDIC guide says if you have a short project, like 6 months or less, or a small one, $500,000 or less, use that short form because it's easier to deal with. It's better than the Red Book or whatever. And there's the FIDIC contracts guide. Now this is the way they chose the name FIDIC, Fédération Internationale des Ingénieurs Conseils, International Federation of Consultant Engineers. And they stopped using the French language in the organization of FIDIC, but the name is still there. تفضل.
The EPC, who has the professional indemnity? Who has to provide?
It's the contractor, because it's designed by contractor.
Even though, but the contractor does not have professional indemnity like the consultant, and also his work has to be double checked. Now, I worked on jobs like this before, and actually it was EPC, but even there was, I was with the contractor, also there was a consultant that double checked the work to make sure that the design is correct, everything is correct.
It's up to the employer to do that, if he wants that. If he wants to keep everything on the head of the contractor, it is possible as well. Now, the contractor is not an engineer per se. So he gets in contract with a designer. That designer would bear that insurance.
The experience I have is that I was with the contractor, I was doing the design, and the employer has appointed a consultant to check our design.
It's his right. But that does not mean shifting of the responsibility into the employer's hands.
But they were checking.
Yes, and he needs a representative for lots of things. There is no an engineer in this contract, but the employer needs somebody to check the payments, monthly payments. He needs somebody to evaluate the claims. He needs somebody to manage some other minor things in the contract. Okay, now here it says it's a manual of good engineering practice. It's a balance between legal precision and practicability, compatible with both common and civil law concepts. I'll come back to this. It's more consistent wording with improved clarity, user-friendly format and layout. I'll go back to that first map I skipped a little while ago. Now it's the time to discuss this. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Now, legal environments in the world. There are three major legal environments in the world. First one is the Latin civil law environment, which originated in France. They used a 2,000-year-old canonical information from Rome, from the empire. They used it in 1815 or 1817, and they spread it in Europe and in their countries in Africa, their previous communities in Latin America. Okay, the other one is the Anglo-Saxon or the common law environment, where the British people moved to their wherever they have been ruling, either in South Asia, in Africa, North America, or Australia and New Zealand. The third one is the Islamic Sharia, where it is located mainly in the Middle East. Okay, these three environments have different views on lots of things. Okay, so what people do sometimes is that they take a clause from a contract that was produced under the Anglo-Saxon common law, and they use it in a Latin environment where they use the civil law, or even worse, in Islamic environments. So it's very dangerous to just pick and use whatever you want. Now, this is one of my inventions. I invented this by using a part of every car I knew. Okay, a pickup and whatever, a part of the old Rolls Royces, the Lexus, and so on. And I used 4 kinds of tires. Is that okay? That's what some people do in contracts. They pick and choose from everywhere, and they try to make a contract that will never work. I'm not sure if my car will work or not. I'm sure contracts will not work. Okay? We're running a little bit late. Can you spare some 15 minutes more? No answer? Now, it was the role of the engineer to make impartial determinations, modified to reflect current practice in the red and yellow books. So the engineer has a lot of authority, a lot of work to do in the red and yellow books. Nothing to do in the silver book, and nothing to do in the golden book as well. Now, employee's representative is introduced and must be fair and reasonable in the silver and green books, as well as the golden book. Now, how can we distinguish between the books? It's based on who does the design and who bears the risk for change in quantities. That means, is it a lump sum contract or is it a unit rate contract? Who does the design? Is it the employer or the contractor? So that's one of the main issues you have to ask yourself before choosing which best contract is for your project. Now, the EPC Silver Book provides for the contractor to take almost all the risks. That's a new kind of logic in FIDIC, because it used to be a very balanced approach to contracts. Now they have changed that due to the many of the petrochemical companies and owners of petrochemical projects have asked FIDIC to minimize the balance between parties because they need something to make them believe they will get the project on time and within budget. Because the other colors, the red one and the yellow one, they give a lot of extension of time to contractors, a lot of compensation for whatever and whatever. So they said, please, FIDIC, we need a much stricter one, but we know that we are going to pay a lot more because the risk is not shared here regularly. So if you want to build a petrochemical complex, if you use the yellow book, the contractors will price that for $500 million. But if you use the silver book, they will go up to $650 million because there is no that balance that was known in the red and yellow books. So take care about that. Now the short form, the green book, deals with the wide demand for a simpler form of contract. Whether it is a 6 months or less, or it's a $500,000 or less, use that short form. There is no engineer in that short form, so it's a one-to-one relation between employer and the contractor. Now, one of the principles here in FIDIC contracts, that work must continue regardless of differences. Some other contracts, the first thing contractors do, they say, when they have a dispute, they say, we'll stop work. But in FIDIC, they don't believe in that. They say the work must continue. Why is that? Because they are not only aiming at the employer's interests and the contractor's interests, but they are aiming at the project's interests as well. So it should finish on time, within budget, with the required quality, and so on and so on. There are some strong financial management of detailed claims and procedures that should be followed in this kind of contracts. They are suitable for international and domestic use. It's a framework adaptable to suit local law. It's not guaranteed that all the contracts published by FIDIC would adapt to the local laws. You have to check because the World Bank is constructing projects in 100 countries. So they don't know whether their contracts would be adaptable to the local laws in Vietnam or in Chile or wherever. Now, general conditions are not applicable, can be disregarded. You can change some of the requirements in the general conditions. You can change it, you can disregard it as a whole. Now, because of the many changes people are doing to the contracts, so FIDIC has published their guide, which was called the 5 Golden Rules of FIDIC. Okay, don't touch anything of this to keep the contract called a FIDIC book. But if you do, just don't call it a FIDIC book. What are these 5? One of the main things is the dispute resolution, 3 levels of dispute resolution. Don't touch those, or else don't call it a FIDIC contract, because FIDIC organization will not be happy to see projects failing because of your changes, and then you call it a FIDIC-based contract. No. We have adjudication that precedes arbitration. You can go to the DAB. in a published letter by FIDIC, they said using the DAB ended 90% of all disputes in the whole world. Wherever they use the FIDIC books, they have managed to finalize 90% at the DAB level. And only 10% went to arbitration. So this is a good success rate of using DABs. What people do here in the Gulf, they say, the first level is the engineer's decision. I don't like that, cross that out. What is a DAB? This is a very odd thing, so cross it out. And we don't go to arbitrations anyhow. So they have crossed out the whole lot of dispute resolution levels, and they say, we'll go to the local courts. FIDIC said, thank you, but if you do that, don't call it a FIDIC contract. Call it whatever you like, but don't call it a FIDIC contract. Now, it depends upon who does the design, who's responsible for that. There are traditional competitive tendering procedures in that the risk sharing is balanced, not for the EPC, okay? It's only for the red, the yellow, the green, the blue, but not for the silver. All claims from either party have to follow a strict procedure. You have to do this and to do this. You have, Mr. Contractor, you have only 28 days to give in your claim. If you fail to do that, your claim will be barred. That's a time bar for neglecting any claims coming by either party after 28 days, because this is the time bar that will apply to your claims. Now, the engineer is no longer stated as impartial, but he will be deemed to act for the employer's interests, except when he is asked for a fair determination as required, which is the first layer of, or the first level of dispute resolution.
Even right now, all the contracts, FIDIC contracts, the engineers are acting impartially, even though they get paid.
Impartially?
Yeah.
That was the old version in 1987. They used to say the engineer should be impartial and so on. Not later than that. 1999 editions, they have changed this to that he's not impartial, but only it's required from the engineer to be impartial only when he is required to make a fair determination. That's the official decision by the engineer in a dispute, okay? Not other. Only if he's required to do that determination. But during his life with the project, he is deemed to be working for the employer.
Making the determination on a claim. On a claim.
Yes. On a claim, yes.
If he is partial, then contractor will always write a notice referring to that engineer.
That's why he can resort to the DAB for another level of dispute resolution. Now, in the Red Book, design is made by the employer. But you can still, because it's the construction business is a very complicated business. So making rigid contracts is not useful for the owners or the contractors. So although design is made by the employer, you can still ask the contractor to make a design of 10% plus or minus. Okay, you can ask him to make the boundary walls, to make the some storage, some tanks, and so on and so on. You can do that. It's very flexible with doing this. In the Red Book, it's a remeasured contract. Yet, you can still ask him to price some items by a lump sum arrangement, or even a cost plus. Okay? So, although it is largely a unit rate remeasured contract, you still can use these for small work, not the major parts of work. So that's why it's very useful. In the old contracts, up till 1987, they used the engineer's decision on clause 67. Now they have taken out that and changed it to an engineer's decision. Now, this DAB as well is a very important part. But sorry to say that most employers in the Middle East do not like that DAB at all. Either they don't trust those people. They say sometimes this is a waste of time. Sometimes they say, why should I pay for those 3 people if we don't have any issues to discuss with them? Well, in the 1999 editions, FIDIC said you have to have a dispute resolution board from day one in Red Book, but in the Yellow Book they said it will be an ad hoc DAB, so whenever we have a dispute, you call the DAB in. And then when they finalize their resolution, they go dissolve that and make another one when you get another dispute. But in the 2017 editions, they said no more ad hoc DABs. They will all be standing DABs. That means from day one. Okay? This is better for the construction industry. This is better for the employer and the contractor. Although some employers say, why should I pay those people as long as I don't have any disputes? Now, about the Yellow Book, it's for the electrical and mechanical works, although you can use it for any other project, as long as the design will be made by the contractor, and as long as you will be paying the contractor on a lump sum basis. The employer should start some design for his project, say 10 to 15%. He makes the design, submits it to the contractor, who will finalize the drawings. So it's about 85% of the drawings will be made by the contractor, but although the employer will make some designs, that doesn't mean it's not a design-build contract. But this is a part of being flexible. Payment is on a lump sum basis, but you can still use some items with remeasurable. You can do that. And you can even use a cost plus arrangement to pay for some minor works. There's still a DAB there, and as I told you, the 1999 edition said you don't have to make the DAB from day one. You can make it from whenever you have the dispute, and this is called the ad hoc DAB. Now, FIDIC said, forget about ad hoc DABs. We will not accept any ad hoc DABs. They should be standing DABs. That means from day one. The Silver Book, they have some certainty with the final price and the time. Now, the employer knows he will pay more for that because it's an unbalanced or less balanced contract than the red and yellow books. Any other risks not mentioned in the contract will be borne by the contractor. The employer will have to pay more, and that's understood. It's an unbalanced risk. This is new to FIDIC logic of balance and so on and so on. Now, what is the EPC contract suitable for? Electrical and mechanical works, all types of employers, whether government or private. It works well with the civil law jurisdictions, and where the government employer or private developer wants a fixed price turnkey basis and two-party approach. That means no engineer in the silver book. In the silver book, it's the same like the yellow book. Design is made by the contractor, and it's a lump sum arrangement of payment, but it is less balanced, and there is no engineer in this kind of projects. The green book, as I told you, anything $500,000 or less, or 6 months duration or less. And there is no engineer in this green book. The dredging and reclamation, what color is this dredging and reclamation contract? I showed you. The blue one. The blue one, thank you. Design could be either by employer or contractor, and the engineer is required to act fairly, and there is no defects liability on dredging. This is very important. If you want to make dredging, there is no defects liability. So you will not be having a defects notification period. فترة الضمان اللي يسموها باللغة العربية. There are some special insurance provisions in this contract, and there is adjudication by the DAB, then arbitration. We're about to finish here. Now, what is the design, build, and operate contract? That's what they call the DBO, and it's the Golden Book. Was first published in 2008. It assumes a 20-year operation period. What does that mean? You need to make a power plant, and you give it to the contractor who will design, construct, and will operate this facility for the next 20 to 30 years or so. He gets back his money by producing electricity, paying or collecting the money from wherever he gives the electricity to, and then gives it back to the owner, whether the government or not, after 30 years or 20 years or whatever. So in this kind of arrangement, there is no engineer as well, and but there is an adjudication, DAB, and then arbitration. I'll stop here. If you have any questions, please.
In the design, build and operate project, I'm Babar Ali Khan, I'm from Pakistan, and I'm a lawyer by profession. So I have about 2 decades of experience in the FIDIC scheme of things. In Pakistan, we follow the FIDIC construction contract.
You don't look that old. You said 20 years.
Almost 20, so it's 18 years.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, the design, build and operate project, you mentioned that there's no engineer. What about the construction phase? During the construction phase, who supervises the construction?
No, nobody supervises.
The employer does it himself?
No supervision is needed.
Or the risk is on the contractor?
If it fails, it does not produce the electricity, it's up to him. And he will be using this facility for another 30 years. Yeah, so if it breaks after 15 years, it's his loss.
Makes sense.
Okay.
FIDIC Red Book, 4th edition. We know
4th edition is the 1987.
We know that there are thousands of case laws on FIDIC 87 Red Book. Why the clients are still moving towards 2017 or 2009, which they don't know what are the consequences if you use it?
You love the old one, huh? 1987. You're not that old to be of that kind. Okay, you have to move forward. FIDIC thinks this is more balanced, more suitable for the construction era, the new one, and they are enhancing those contracts every 10 years plus or minus. So if you want to stick to that old one, it's up to you. It's up to you. They will not force you to leave that and go to the new one. But they are only suggesting that this is a new product. Please have a look at it. Try to use it. It's more useful for you and your projects. Covers more ideas and so on and so on and so on. You can still keep your 1987, 1977, 1967, 1957. You can still do that.
If it is like the engineer, if the payment to the engineer is being made 50% for the employer and 50% for the contractor, he will be acting very impartial and no dispute.
They haven't come to that conclusion at all yet, because in the new editions they say he will be deemed to work for the employer, and he is only required to be impartial when giving a determination. Is it easy to do? I'm an engineer. I work as an engineer consultant. It's not easy to do, especially in this part of the world where employers think that they own the engineer. Okay, we are paying you, so we own you for 2 years. You do what we say. This is very dangerous, very annoying for me. Any more questions? We have 1 more minute before we break.
Sorry. So in Saudi Arabia, is there a standardized government construction contract, and is it FIDIC or is it loosely based on FIDIC?
Neither. It's a homemade contract.
The previous one. Now, are they looking into?
They are looking into FIDIC. I've been working with the government agencies for the last 20 years. Okay? Do I look that old? We have moved only 10% forward after 20 years. I think now is the time to make large changes. It's coming, inshallah. Inshallah. Okay, thank you very much for your attendance. I was very happy to see those nice faces. Some of them are smiling, some are not. But thank you for coming. Inshallah, we will keep in touch. We can send you the video for this presentation, and if you need the Arabic version, we'll send it to you if you can understand Arabic. If not, we don't have a Russian edition. Thank you very much.
I apologize, I came late for this session.
No problem.
I was stuck somewhere and I came especially for this. So I'm a lawyer by profession and I work with the Pakistan Engineering Council, and we are also working on adopting FIDIC's 2017 version. Currently, the one that we use is the 1987 amended up to 92. We're stuck with that, but it's been for the last 4 years we're trying to adopt the 2014 MDB harmonized version and the 2017 Red Book. If there's any assistance that you would require here, I would you're more than welcome.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Let's
FIDIC
keep
is
in
my
touch.
passion.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's keep in touch,
Yeah.
and we can help others by that.
Thank you so much
Miss-
for your time.
Mr. Anthony,
Yes.
you came with
Yes.
our big boss. He's our big boss.
I kept this for you because I ran out of cards.
طيب.
Oh, wow.
Okay, completely. 3 boxes gone. So I kept.
You're very popular here. Yeah, very popular here.
Yeah, I just came from the other conference and everybody said, yeah, I know Mr. Marwan.
He's a very popular man. He's the boss of all engineers here in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so we'll see you. نحكي إن شاء الله نلتقى.
إن شاء الله.
Okay.
بإذن الله. أنت الآن بيست فين؟ في دبي؟
الرياض.
ما زلت بالرياض؟
لا عم بغلط بدبي. صار لي 25 سنة بدبي.
بس أنا شفتك بالدمام.
ايوه صح.
أهلا كيف الحال؟
ليش انا اسف بقيت متاخر
لا معلش ما فيش مشكلة. راح